Okay, so the sports ball is officially done for the season, and I'm going to say that word with a grain of salt because even I cringed saying it. So, the Kansas City Chiefs have gone back to back for the Super Bowl win for the first time since 2003 2004, when other dynasty, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, went back to back. Good for them. Great. Game was boring. It was not a high scoring game until like the literal 11th hour, I guess. It was fine. Mahomes did what Mahomes does best. Travis Kelce played okay. Brock Purdy, I feel so bad for him. I really hope they find their way back one day. Not next year, because next year is the Lions' year. That's just me being hopeful. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I don't really want to talk about the game. I kind of want to talk about something that has bugged me for so long, and I feel like it's bugged other people. I'm sure it has, but no one's as public about it because it's kind of like, it's just a game, I guess, let it go. It does really annoy me, just a hair. So, in the major sports leagues in America, so the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, and the National Hockey League, they all have their four major trophies. They have the Vince Lombardi, they have the Larry O'Brien, the World Series, of course, and the greatest trophy of them all, the Stanley Cup. It gets to that time of year when the championships are being played for. Whoever wins, and there's a presentation ceremony that happens after the game. The commissioner comes out, they'll talk, the trophy comes out, the whole thing. Kind of going, okay, well, the trophy's coming out, the players are going to receive it, and then do all that. Something that weirds me out, though, and this happened on Sunday night after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Chiefs win, it's a whole thing, right? The Vince Lombardi trophy is being brought out by Broncos legend John Elway. For some reason, brought down a carpet, him holding the trophy, just smiling away, and as he's walking down, there's a line he's walking down with all the players of the Chiefs forming that line, and the Chiefs players are going to, they get to quickly touch the trophy, and they're smiling, they're celebrating, but part of me is like, well, why aren't they up there? There's a stage that John Elway is going to. And you see on stage, there's Patrick Mahomes, there's Travis Kelce, there's Roger Goodell, commissioner of the National Football League, owner and CEO of the Kansas City Chiefs, Clark Hunt, and his family, and other people. I don't know who. The trophy gets to Roger Goodell, and Roger Goodell makes a little speech, blah, blah, blah. People boo him, the usual with all the commissioners. And he hands the trophy first to Clark Hunt, who makes a little speech about, owning the team, and, we've come so far, and dynasties, and blah, blah, blah. And then he says something that just gets me. He says, kudos to the players. That's it. Kudos to the players. Yes, the players that have played week in, week out, 17 total weeks of the regular season, not counting the weeks of preseason games that you have to play, being away from their families for a couple weeks on end, depending on their schedule, sacrificing their bodies in this very physical sport to play these games and win these games. Kansas City didn't have a first round bye this year, so they had to play 4 games in the playoffs, not 3. They had to play the wild card, they had to play the divisional round, they had to play the conference championship, and then the Super Bowl. That's 21 total games this year that they had to play. 21 games where they had to give their lives, give their bodies, get beaten up, thrown around everything to try and win a Super Bowl, which they inevitably did. And all you as an owner can say is kudos to the players. You say that while your star quarterback and your star tight end, your Brady and Gronk, are up there on stage with you, but the rest of your team is down below you on not even on stage. What? I don't know how things go in the NFL or the NBA. It happens in the NBA too. It happens in the MLB. Trophy comes in, gets to the commissioner talks, is then immediately handed to the owner of the team. Why? Look, other than owning the team and signing paychecks, obviously, right? Maybe the coach first. Maybe your GM. Hell, I would have loved to see that trophy go to Andy Reid first. Fuck it, Why not? But it goes to Clark Hunt. If you know me, you know I'm a big hockey fan. Yeah. I love the certain traditions of hockey. They don't get a lot of things right in the NHL or in the tradition of hockey, but man, there's one thing they do get right. One very particular thing, and that is how the Stanley Cup is presented. In the series clinching game for the Stanley Cup final, the handshake line occurs, which is one of my favorite things in sports, is that both teams will go shake hands, hug. Some players don't participate, that's fine. Talk and say, hey man, congratulations, blah, 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 things like that, because there's sportsmanship still, I think, right? So they do the handshake line, the losing team, of course, goes back to the locker room, and the cup winning team will stay on the ice They get the whole thing set up with the red carpet. They get the little table thingamahoo set up for the Stanley Cup to be placed on. And then, of course, some of my favorite words I'll ever hear is, ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup. And one of either Gary Bettman, commissioner of the National Hockey League, or Bill Daly, the deputy commissioner, will be out there and say a few words, blah, 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 blah. And then comes the actual handoff. And who do they call first? The captain of the team. They will call the captain of the team to come up. They get to take their photo together, holding the cup briefly together for that one moment. And then the commissioner will let go, and the captain gets to raise that cup over his head. That we have done it. We've won the Stanley Cup. And then the captain will pass the cup on to the next teammate. The next teammate takes a lap, celebrates, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. Every player on the team will get a chance to raise the Stanley Cup after winning it in that game, or after the game's done, basically. After that, coaches, front office might come down. They might do it the other way around. And normally you don't see the owners hoisting it televised. You don't see it on TV. But you do see, behind the scenes shots of everything, and they will hoist it eventually. But the owner never hoists it first. Because I think front offices and owners know that, hey, we're not the ones that did this, we're not the guys on the ice that played 82 games in the regular season, which, by the way, that's so many games. Anywhere from 4 to 7 games per round for 4 rounds. A potential of 28 total games that your team might have to play to get 16 wins to hoist that Stanley Cup. Your players give their lives for it. And it's not, man, I got to feel bad for some of the guys on San Francisco and the 49ers that got injured and had to get carted out. Deebo Samuel having to go because of a hamstring injury. Greenlaw tearing his Achilles, trying to get just get off from the sides and get out of the field. Like, oh, dude, that sucks. And this is a knock against the NFL. This is going to be another knock against ownership in the NFL. All you could say was kudos to the players. Not talk about the injuries that have been sustained and, things that have happened, blah, 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 and, this and this and, things like that. Man, even not acknowledging, like, hey, yeah, we struggled at first, but we found our way back. Nothing. You're not going to talk about the players themselves. You don't have to talk about all of them, but just talk about, hey, as a team, they put themselves together, they made it work, and they won the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are not just the Kansas City Chiefs. There's an entire roster that you should be thanking. Yes, they'll get their rings. They get their parade tomorrow. I know, blah, blah, blah. At the time of recording, it's, tomorrow. But yeah, it's just a little gripe I've had where the ownership will get a trophy first in the other leagues that aren't the NHL. And they'll be hoisting that thing and just raising it above their head like, they've just won another $1 billion. And you're like, dude, let your players celebrate. Like, the NBA is nice, at least. I think the World Series is the same, where players will get to hold the trophy and do whatever. But sometimes that isn't televised, and it bothers me that it isn't. There's too much spectacle. Make the spectacle have a feel-good ending. I don't know. This is a gripe I've had about owners and the way championship ceremonies are done that aren't the NHL. Maybe they might change one day. Maybe they won't. They probably won't. Who am I to say? So long as hockey still is hockey, so long as the NHL still does, as long as teams still keep up the tradition of the cup, there's beauty in sports somewhere, and that is an important thing. So, we'll see.